So, tuning in the Yamaha CS80. The first thing you need to do, obviously, is to turn her on and let her warm up. At least 20 minutes. Preferably actually half an hour, especially because you'll have it open and you need to sort of get the ambient temperature of the room also playing a part. Now, one thing you will have to do, let me show you here. Before you do anything, you need to make sure that the detune is centered as well as the actual global tune as well. They've got to be right, otherwise you will have to retune it again afterwards if you haven't. The other thing you'll need to use will be the footage. Ideally use brass 1 and 2 to tune, and obviously the control mix slider up here as you go from tuning bank 1 to tuning bank 2. So a good place to start is we turn it off. You'll have to undo the 2 screws that are underneath. They're very easy to spot, and that means that the front panel simply just lifts up. Now you can, if you want, tune them without lifting the rack. Don't advise it really if you can help it. So you undo the screws either end of the rack to loosen that off, and then simply pull it up. It should lock into the position like that. You may have to do it several times, you never know. Then find the main cable straps, which are these big metal ones. There's normally about 4 altogether, so they'll be spaced out. There's one there, and they help to hold the loom out of the way of the cards while you're tuning them. Don't be worried too much about pulling this. You know, it only needs to be vertical, basically, so you just get a view of the cards. Now, the card themselves, that's a little bit tricky. A lot of people have fallen foul to this. The trimmers that we're interested in are these top 5. Now I say top 5, but when you look at a glance, you'll see there's only 4. And what's actually going on there is, actually, here we've got a voice card here, and there's actually this very thin one at the top. This does your global tune. This is where you set it up for the initial pitch. The next one down is scale, and the 4 foot, the 8 foot, and the 16 foot settings for that voice. Ideally, you don't want to be using a normal kind of screwdriver to do this. There's 2 reasons. One is it's really difficult to get the straight cut blade into this without it slipping out, and if you do, you can accidentally touch some of the other trimmers, or worse still, you're applying a bit of pressure and you slide through and you could short out the VCO, which is then a doorstop basically. So once these are tuned, we just move down each one following a procedure that I'll show you until you get to the bottom one, and when you get to here you've got it tuned. So we'll turn her on, let her warm up, and we'll see how out of tune it is, and take it from there. Okay, she's been on half an hour now, and nice and toasty, very nice, particularly warm. Now let's see how out of tune she actually is. I think that's classed as very out of tune. So the first thing we need to do is set the footages to 2 foot on both banks, because sometimes there can be a bit of a bleed, be ever so slightly from the other bank in, which will affect your tuning if you're using a guitar tuner or a strobe tuner, or for that matter, even if you're using like a reference oscillator on a digital synth. You will find it very hard to get that beatless tune if there is another frequency floating around in there, extraneously messing it all up. So the first thing we need to do then is just to show you what the key procedures are in terms of how you use the keyboard to access the various voices that you want to work on. It's pretty straightforward. For some reason a lot of people fall over with that, so we'll do that first. So what we will need to do is tune A4, which is here. The other key we will have to tune is the bottom C, not A1 like it says in the manual. The reason I do this for the KSR 80s is because it means you can definitely get this key to be always in tune, but as soon as you go down below it could get very, very woolly, so it's better to stretch that tuning as much as possible to the bottom C, mainly because, let's face it, the bottom C on a CS80 is pretty brutal, and you'll want that that kind of bass sound when you're playing her. So the first thing we need to go through is we count off the A's, and that will give us obviously the 7 voices. What does happen though is, because this is based on organ technology, as far as the KSR is concerned, it doesn't play voice 8. What it does instead is return back to voice 1. So it cycles through to here and then back again. To activate voice 8, 2 notes have to be played, or at least more than one, but for tuning purposes you never want to go above 2 anyway. So what you will do is essentially, if I move the camera, obviously if you're getting voice 1, voice 2, voice 3, voice 4, voice 5 and 6 and 7, which is fair dues. Now when you're going to do 8 voices, you cycle through again, but play a different note, and then when you get to the 7th note, hold it down, and then the 8th note is the note that you want to tune to. So it's done like this. Now that is the 8th note, and that is this voice here. So when that voice is activated, so is the first voice in the other bank as well. So as long as you can go through that cycle, you'll be able to find the card you need easily, especially if it hasn't had LEDs fitted on the triggers. Don't normally recommend that because LEDs introduce noise, so ideally don't put any LEDs in it. Now the equipment you would use for tuning, you have 3 possible ways of doing it. You can use a reference oscillator from a digital synth, so press the corresponding key and hold that down, and then when you're tuning your voice you match it to that frequency. Another way of doing it is with a guitar tuner. This is probably the best use if you're not really going around tuning a lot of stuff, because they're relatively cheap to buy and they're quite accurate. As a tech, I have to use something like this, which is the Peterson strobe tuner. It's very, very accurate and just as expensive. In fact, I think this one was about 600 quid. So it served me well, but unless you've got money to burn, go for a guitar tuner. So let's get tuning. So the first thing we need to do then is tune the initial on voice card 1. So it's on bank 1 only on the mix, so that is the only card we will hear. You push the A4. Now turn the 80 down, because that whine will drive you insane after a little while. And the strobe is saying that it's sharp, so find that little blue trimmer and bring her down until she says A, and then get the strobe to go still, and that is A. And then go to the next card. So hit A4 again. Sounds like it's not very far out. It's not. It's a tiny bit out. There you go. A4. Now number 3. Remember to keep the key pressed down. So there we go. And there we go. There's A. So if you were doing this with a digital oscillator, you're looking for a beatless tune between the two. Now number 4. And similarly, if you're using a guitar tuner, you want it to get it to read the A dead on. I think we might have swapped voices here. Let's check. Right, now what I've done is I've lost the voice already. So it is that one. So it's not picking up. It is definitely voice. So oh, there you go. Yeah, don't worry if you get little discrepancies like that. It will come about. Okay, now number 5. The same, get that to A. And follow this procedure all the way through until you get to number 7. Oh, that one's dead on already. Okay. So number 7 now. And I think that is also tuned. Yep, lovely. Now, to do voice 8, you will need to do this key trick again. So, I'll show you. So, the best way to do this is you want the A, so you hit the G 7 times, and on the 7th time, hold it down and then press the A, which makes it the 8th key. So here we go. And that's it. That's the 8th voice. And you use this every time you want to get to the 8th voice. So, 8th voice, twiddler, very top trimmer. They are a little pain to get to. Here we go, we get that to be A dead on. Okay, so all of bank 1 is now initially tuned. Now we do the scale. So, leading on from exactly where we were, we now want to push the bottom C, and that is giving us an almost C. So let me just get this set up correctly. Okay. Now this is where we go to the second trimmer down, which is this one here, and we adjust that for a C on the strobe. There we go. Get it as still as possible. Hit the key again, and now do the next. And what you will do is you'll be matching this to get them beatless. And then number 3, which is a long way out. Bring that right back. B, C. There you go. Next voice. And get that until it's a C as well. And so forth. Right up to the 7th voice. That's number 5. And then number 6. And don't be too worried if the trimmers inside your 80 look different to the trimmers inside this one. This one had all of its trimmers replaced to no benefit whatsoever. I don't know who actually done it, but except they had to calibrate everything all over again, and I tell you, it's a long battle. Right, so same procedure as like you did up the top to get the 8th voice, except here we're going to push the D 7 times, hold it on the 7th, and then push the C. So, and there's the C, and that's your 8th voice. As it transpires, it's not very far out. And there we go. Now, then we set the footages to 4. And we go back to C4 again, and then tune the next trimmer down. So next trimmer down, and here we go, A4, and that is the 3rd trimmer down now, and it says it's pretty much there, and the next one is a little out. And basically what you'll be doing is to get this beatless with either the reference oscillator. Now remember to drop down the footage on the synthesizer or whatever you're using to be the reference tone for this, because it can get a little bit twitchy if they're octaves apart. It's not impossible, but it just makes things a lot easier on the ear. Some of the trimmers might be difficult to turn due to sealing compound on them, but it's exactly like I say, exactly the same process. Work your way across, adjusting the 3rd trimmer down as you go from each one. That one's pretty much spot on. And now to do the 8th, and there's your 8th. Make sure it's the 3rd trimmer. If you do find that you've turned the wrong trim, just go back to the beginning of the bank of the process you were doing and just do it again. You can simply reset the synth by turning it off and turning it on again, a bit like Windows, and then select the sound you're going to use and then continue from where you left off. So that is the 4th foot. Now we go to the 8th foot, hit the A4 again, and same thing, but now it's the 4th trimmer down. And a lot of these are pretty damn close. Looks like most of the tuning issues it had was with the scaling. Oh no, that one's a bit wobbly. It needs to come back a bit. There we go. So the Pearson tuner really is no different from what the guitar tuner is in terms of the output, what it shows. They're as good as each other. Obviously, if you can, use it on a line in rather than the microphone. Right, again, getting the 8th voice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold and 8th note. And there we go. 8th note, 4th one down. This part of it is actually a lot quicker than the first part of the procedure. That's quite fiddly. Right, now we go to the 16th foot. Voice 1 again. It's pretty much there. Voice 2 now. Pretty much there. Oh, that one's out. Bring it back a bit. There we go. Remember to keep checking that you're turning the right trimmer. That one's a bit flat. That's a bit sharp. That one's a bit sharp. Oh no, right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8th. There we go. And that is perfect. it doesn't need touching. Okay, so that's bank 1. So we do exactly the same procedure for bank 2. Now if you want, you can tune it to bank 1 by just turning up the volume and then going through the process again while here in the first bank, and use that as your reference oscillator, or just continue using the digital oscillator or your guitar tuner or your Peterson to tune the second bank in exactly the same way you were doing the first. And again, as with the bank 1, we're now going to do bank 2. Fortunately, because it's a video and you skip forward, you may not need to see all of this, but I'm going to put it in for people who just want to follow, who aren't confident enough to just go flying at it. So again, we've set it to 2 foot again, and now we're going to push A4 to get voice 1 and adjust the top trimmer. So, and they're always odd, they're difficult to get on, little buggers. I think that's it, there we go. No, that's not it. You get some of these are a real pain because the earth wire gets in the way sometimes of where the screw head is. So it's a little, oh, anyway, there we go. Okay, so that seems okay. And now voice 2. There we go. And that is very out by the looks of it. There you go. Voice 3. Also sounds a bit out. Now you may, on occasions, get a voice that won't quite tune to where you need it to be. Now that could be that the trimmer itself is worn out, so you might want to replace that trimmer. Oh, send it to me and I'll fit it, of course, but the trimmers are quite easy to fit anyway. But we go now to, see, these top ones are very, very fiddly. You think you've got them and you haven't. And this is why you need to be hearing the VCO, so you know. Not quite sure. It's that one, that's why. See, I've been adjusting the wrong voice. See, even the pros can get it wrong. There you go. Now, because it was in front, it doesn't matter, because it means that was the one I'm going to do next anyway. Okay, there we go, there's another. That's A again. Now I grant you that this isn't the most exhilarating video you're ever going to see in your life. But if you've got a CS80 and it's out of tune, and the thought of having to carry it out of the studio, down the stairs, load it into the back of the car and drive it to me, just to have me spend half an hour on it to get it all sorted, and then you have to cart it all the way back again really carefully, just in case you knock the tune out again. You're going to find this video extremely useful. Right, okay, so all the initial tunes to A are now done on that bank. Now we go back to the bottom C again. Right, so now we press our bottom C. It sounds really bad when it hits the bottom, and that's the next trimmer down, so that's the second trimmer. That should, yeah, that's nice, that's a good C. Then voice 2. These second trimmer down that do the scale are really, really sensitive, and you may find yourself bouncing about all over the place trying to get it still, and also keep checking what key you're in, because these can be like nearly half an octave out. That's voice 3. That's really good. And now voice 8. As well. Now, same procedure as before. Now we go to the forefoot. Go back to A4. So A4, and it's the third trimmer down, which does the forefoots. That's good. I don't think these forefoots are out very much. Yeah, okay. Yeah, number 4. Nice. Number 5. Real sharp. If you've got perfect pitch, you are bloody laughing, because you won't need to do all this cobblers. But if most of you are like me, sometimes have trouble identifying a mini moog unless it fell out of a tree on my head. Right. And there's your 8th voice. Make sure it's the third one down again. Yep. There. Lovely. Okay. Now we do the 8th foot. Voice 1 again, and now it's the 4th trimmer down. So we go 8 foot. Yes, oh, that's there, cool. Voice 2. Yeah, voice 3. Nice. Voice 4. Basically, this is a very straightforward part of the procedure. It's not going to cause you an awful lot of hassle whatsoever. And you'll be laughing at this stage. Setting the footages is a nice, quick, simple job. As long as you know the key procedures. These are very easy to tune in. There you go. Now 16 foot and A4 again, and the bottom trimmer. Pretty much there. Bit flat. also a little bit flat. Voice 4. Voice 5. Voice 6. Voice 7. And voice 8. And that, me old mucker, as I say, is that. Okay, now all that's left is to try it out.